this fun name. Oh, here we go. We came up with this fun name. It's not a train themed presentation. If I really wanted to, I could have gone all out and made the whole thing train themed, but I didn't. So I don't know if there's any big former train station workers or train fans, but that's not this. So let's just go to the first slide. So let's talk about what is home automation. Home automation refers to the control of appliances in your house by local networking or remote control. So what that means is basically you're not flipping a light switch on and off or pressing the button on your coffee maker to turn it on. You're accessing it another way through an app or through some sort of device, right? You might also hear the words environmental control unit, which is used a lot in the home automation world. And that's really just kind of any piece of equipment that allows someone with a disability to control their environment and is operated with electricity. So when we think of an environmental control unit or an ECU, it can be divided in three parts. So there's the input. So essentially what you use to feed the device information, whether it be your voice, whether it be touching a screen or using a switch. There's the control unit, which is like the brains or the boss of the operation. It does the thinking and it tells the signals what to do and where to go. And then you have your appliances. So once the signals are sent out to your appliances, they do something cool. They turn on a light or they might make a cup of coffee. So those are two somewhat interchangeable terms you might hear people use. I wanted to explain this in kind of a pop culture way because this is how my brain works. So if a lot of this is just not lining up, here's another way of thinking about it. We have our input. So this whole thing is the environmental control unit. The input is, your voice using touch or using buttons or switches, which then goes to the brains, right? And then the brains go to these lovely devices, which may or may not work and be useful and helpful and sends the signal. And then that's how you get automated devices in your home. I love these robots. If you haven't had a chance to look, I think they're called useless robots. And this person here creates devices and robots for tasks, and they don't always turn out well. And so you get to see her mistakes along the way and the result of some of these robots that just don't do what they're supposed to do. It's really great. Okay. So when it comes to input, we're thinking about with ALS, right? You might have difficulty using your voice, or maybe you're having difficulty, pressing a button or typing on a screen. And so this is something that you really want to work with your team on, whether it be an occupational therapist, a speech therapist, or a physical therapist, to work together to really find the best way of accessing your devices. Once you do that, you can use your hands, your legs, a series of switches, eye gaze. There are apps where you can use your voice banked voice to access Alexa devices or a combination of the above. So there's a lot of different ways to go about it. It can be overwhelming, but I just want you to remember that there's a whole team of people behind you, and we're really here to help you every step of the way. This might change over time. So what works now might not work a few months from now. And so it's just really important to stay in constant communication with your team as you progress and find that things are maybe not working as well as they used to. This page, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I wanted to have a page where there's important terminology that you need to know. This is for my people who really, really want to deep dive into home automation. I know there's a lot of you who are techies out there and really enjoy kind of getting into going into detail and finding the next best technology. So here's some terms that you should know if you're going to look into home automation. Wi-Fi, wireless connection to the internet, Bluetooth. It's basically a signal where there's you don't need any any sort of smart devices. And if your device doesn't have Bluetooth built in, you can add a little USB dongle. Radio frequency and infrared. These are some terms you might see people use. Zigbee and Z-Wave. These are just different types of signals that transmit information to devices. So again, you probably won't need to know this. A lot of times your device will say works with Alexa or works with, Google. And that's really all you need to know in that case. But for people who want to dive deeper, I'm going to leave that there and you can refer back to it later. I also made a list of different speech devices. If you're using, say, an eye gaze device and you want to know, wow, what kind of controls do my devices have? Do they have these capabilities? These are generally the different infrared and radio frequency that's built into different devices. So you can refer to that. This might change as devices are updated. So just keep that in mind. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that. So let's talk about control units, because this is kind of the meat of the presentation that I want to get to. I'm going to talk about the three most well-known brands, which are Amazon, Google, and Apple. There's a lot more choices out there, but these are kind of the main ones that you see maybe on the shelves at the grocery store, or if you're going to Target. I would say my biggest advice is if you don't know a lot about home automation and you don't feel super comfortable, pick something that you've maybe used once before, like Alexa or Siri, and stick with it. It's really difficult to kind of match different brands. And so you really want to pick one and try and find things that are compatible so that you're not running into issues down the line. So the first one is Amazon, and this is the one that I use in my home personally. These are just a few of their products. So they have everything ranging from lighting, smart locks, plugs and outlets, this pet feeder. I actually have this pet feeder and it's a little pet camera, and you can watch your dogs when you're away from home, and you can also give them treats and talk to them, and it's really wonderful. So smart devices aren't just, light bulbs and door locks. They can also be really fun and engaging. So I really enjoy that. This is not exhaustive, but this is just kind of a range of the products they have on their website. I wanted to put in a few prices just so you had an idea of some of the bulk devices, how much they cost. Sometimes I've seen these go on sale. They are expensive, but there are ways to work around the price. There are some cheaper options. And so, I just want to give people an idea as to what the range is, because it really does depend. So for smart home hubs, which is like the main brain. So this is the thing that's kind of controlling all of the different devices. There's the Echo. And I actually have one of these right here. Can you see me or just my PowerPoint? You can see me? I see Tracy nodding. Okay, great. So this is the Echo. It's a speaker. It also controls your devices. You essentially hook it up to an app either on your phone or on a tablet, and then you can use it for various things. There's also the Echo Show 10, which is a big screen. And same thing, you can use it to control different devices in your home. There are some different devices too. So you can get something, I don't have one here today, but you can get smart speakers, which are a lot more affordable. These aren't the hubs, they're not the brains. And so it makes it a little more difficult to control devices, but it is possible. We're not going to go into it today, but if you're interested in, learning more about home automation or kind of building your starter kit, that's something that we can discuss. I'm available to help you build something that works well for you within your budget. And so I just want you to know that they're out there. But for the most part, you want to get a smart home hub as your main piece. And then after that, you build with different appliances. Okay. The next one is Google Home, which is now Google Nest. They changed their names. You might hear both. And I don't know as much about Google, but it's a company that has a pretty good reputation. They have cameras, doorbells, all sorts of home safety equipment, smart thermostats, smoke alarms, streaming devices, door locks, and displays. So a lot of the same stuff that Amazon offers. Same thing, the prices are somewhat the same. So their hubs are about the same price, $100 to $200. Not all devices are going to work with Google Nest. So you want to just make sure if you go with Google devices or before purchasing a device online that you check and make sure that it's going to work with your hub. We also have Apple Home, which is another brand, and Apple is wonderful. I'm a Mac user. I have an iPhone. I really love Apple for personal use. When it comes to playing with other brands, Apple doesn't play nice with others. They just don't. It's really, really difficult to have Apple products and then use other products. I'm sure there's some of you who have speech devices and have tried to pair an Apple phone or have, had some sort of experience with Apple just not working well with Windows-based or Android devices. So I do tell people to try and stay away from Apple Home if possible, but if you're a diehard Apple fan, then it might be something worth pursuing. It's possible they make good products, but I would say for first-time users, if you don't have anything else, Apple or iOS, then I would steer clear. That being said, I have a little Apple HomePod Mini. They all kind of look the same. They're all just little speakers. And for all of these devices, you can essentially say commands into them and they do certain things. So, you can say, hey, Alexa, tell me a joke. Or, hey, Alexa, turn on my TV. Hey, Alexa, what's the weather? Right? If you're using a speech device, you can type into your computer and your automated voice should be able to work with these devices as well. I know on certain apps, there are specific, page sets where you can control Alexa, you can control Google, but it really just depends. Not all of them work very well, so you really just have to try it out. I would recommend in those situations talking to the speech device rep, because they're going to be the ones who really know their product, their software, and can guide you in the right direction. Okay. And again, Apple, Google, these are all controlled through an app on your phone or a tablet. So there's the Smart Hub, which is the brains. There's the app, which you use to control the Smart Hub. And then there's the devices that the Smart Hub helps control. This is something that I think is really, really good to know about smart devices, because it can be really overwhelming knowing that there's so much you can do with these devices and this technology and not really know where to start. Part of my job too is that I'm available to help you with these things, to help with setup, to help with coming up with these different routines and choosing devices that work well for you. So one of the things I want to highlight are smart home routines. Think about your daily routine. So I just wrote one of mine. Every morning I wake up at 7 a.m., except weekends, and then I wake up far later. I brush my teeth, take medications, and drink a cup of coffee. That's my routine. So similar to daily routines, you can also set routines on your smart home hub. So let's say, okay, every night, you know you're going to be in bed by 10 p.m. So you're going to tell your smart device to set the alarm by 11 p.m. just in case you forgot, turn off all the lights, and then turn the thermostat down to 68. So you can do that. You can set these routines, these routines, and not have to do it every single night. So it really helps take the burden off of you to remember to, you know, okay, what do I need to do before I go to bed? I need to lock all the doors. I need to turn the heat off. I need to turn the lights off. It's a really nice way to make sure that's all taken care of. You can do something like, okay, hey Alexa, let's dim the lights to 10% at 7 o'clock p.m. and close the curtains in the living room. So there are curtains that have motors, and they're pretty fancy. They will adjust. There's usually a remote that you can use, and you can do that. But we also have these devices here. So these are, can you see that okay?
Maybe a little bit higher, Ashley.
Okay, I can't see me,
better.
so let me see. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Okay. So these are SmartBot curtains. And so what they do is you stick them on the curtain rod, and essentially it's a little motor, and you can tell it, you know, what time you want to open your curtains and close your curtains. And so this motor will go across your rod and will open your curtains for you, so you don't have to touch them. So it's a really nice way to stay independent. If you're a person with ALS, gives you a chance to control your room, control your environment without having to, you know, call for assistance. And it's just a nice way to take some of the load off of you and off of your caregivers and loved ones. Another routine you could do is turn on the humidifier at 9 p.m. That's when I'm in bed. Lock the doors at 7 and play meditation music for 1 hour while I go to sleep. So, you know, it's just really nice. It makes it so that you can relax. There's one less thing you have to worry about. And the setup can be stressful. It can take some time to learn. Once it's set, you don't have to worry about it. And The routine will just continue unless you tell it to stop. There are a ton of smart devices. I am always looking up new devices. So there are humidifiers, smart humidifiers. There are smart plugs like this one here. So you would plug it into the wall, and then any device you plug into the smart plug, say a lamp or, you know, a toy, like a child's toy, that can be controlled through the app. So that can make things really easy. So even if you have a lamp that's not a smart lamp, it's just an old antique, you can plug it in here and make it so that you can control it now with your app. There are smart thermostats. There are toys and games to interact with grandchildren. Smart paper towel holders, I learned. So apparently, some people need a smart paper towel holder so that you know when you're about to run out of paper towels, and then it orders some automatically for you. I don't know that I would go that far, but hey, if that's really important to you, it's out there. We also have egg cartons. I looked up the weirdest smart home devices I could last night. Egg cartons, so it tells you when you're almost out of eggs, and then it uses LED lights to notify you if your eggs are old. So if you have a habit of keeping eggs around too long, smart egg cartons might be for you. And then the last thing I found, $8,000, only $8,000. You can buy a smart toilet with heated seats, speakers, Alexa, and voice activated flushing. So you know what? If one of you do purchase that, I would love to see it in person. It sounds amazing. I have never used one, but they exist. So I don't know if there are any Schitt's Creek fans out there, but this is going to be our example case study. So Moira is a social butterfly who loves her family and friends. She is fiercely independent and would like to be able to control some of her devices without calling for help. She has limited use of her hands and can no longer use her voice to control her Amazon Echo. She is currently using a speech generating device to communicate. She wants to be able to turn down the heat, turn on her humidifier, and control the lights without asking her son, David, for help. So a recommendation I might make is updating the thermostat with something that's Alexa compatible, so a smart thermostat. I might recommend getting a smart plug to plug in the humidifier, so Moira doesn't have to purchase a brand new device. Usually smart plugs range from, I don't know, I want to say $15 to $25, somewhere in there. So it's a lot cheaper than purchasing new equipment that's smart. I would have her upgrade to smart bulbs that are compatible with Alexa and set routines on the Alexa app to teach her how to control devices using her speech device. So I just wanted to give an example of, you know, some of the things that the small changes we could make in someone's life just to give them a little bit of independence back. And, you know, this can be a lot, but, you know, we can always, I recommend that people start with one thing and then slowly add more devices as they go along, as they feel more comfortable. I also wanted to add some home automation resources. So there's the Assistive Technology Lab, which has trainings, loan closet, and resources, general resources, Team Gleason. They have some home automation loans for one room. Power companies actually have smart thermostat rebates and coupons, and they're pretty good. It's a pretty good deal. So definitely look into that if you're in the Portland, you know, Oregon, Washington area. Check with your local power company too. If it's not on this list, they may have rebates as well. Check with the care team. And then here at the ALS Association, we have some basic home automation equipment that we can trial. We don't have any equipment to loan at this time, but we do have some that we can come out, we can try it with you, we can play around and just see what works well for you. And then we also have our chapter grant, which you can use to help purchase these devices to be refunded. Any questions? That was a lot of information.
And folks are more than welcome to ask questions in the chat if you'd like. And Karen, thank you so much for your great comment or question about whether folks are having any kind of internet issues or might just need some assistance with paying for broadband for computer use or just for their home settings. And so I did put some resources in the chat for folks if you want to check it out. Yeah, and Ashley, I do think we've got Brian on the call, and Becca, I did unpin Ashley, so hopefully you're seeing what you need to see now, but just give me a call if you're having any troubles.
Okay. So we'll hand it over to Brian. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we can answer them. Brian and I can answer them as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And just a reminder to stop sharing your screen so we can go in.
There we go. I was trying to figure out. Thank you.
There we go. Beautiful. Okay. Now, Brian, I'm going to pin you so you come up for folks. Hopefully. And Ashley, do you want to take a moment just to introduce Brian for those who may not know who he is?
Yes, of course. Where is Brian? There you are. Yeah, Brian is wonderful and volunteered to give us a spiel and just share his experiences. Well, first of all, living with ALS and how home automation has, has helped him, has improved his life. So I really appreciate it, Brian. Yeah, Brian has taught me a lot. I was really impressed when I went out to meet him, seeing his chair. It's just, there's lights. It's a work of art. So he's fantastic. He's a great resource. I definitely recommend, utilizing the people around you and in support groups to find information too. Did I miss anything, Brian?
No.
Okay. Take it away.
Automation. There's tons of products out there to use. You have to decide what will work best for you. For me, I can't speak anymore, so things like Alexa aren't the best thing for me. My tablet's voice can talk to Alexa, but that's an extra step I don't need to do. I used an August smart lock for the front door as I can no longer use a key very well. And then I found that Ross makes some nice light switches and plug-in switches. I like the app and their products. Now, my outside house lights are set to turn on at sunset and turn off at sunrise. My landscape night lights were on an analog timer, which was a pain, as we had to constantly change it to keep it turning on its sunset. Now with the Ross plug-in switch, I set it to do it automatically. I added the Ross garage door opener to my existing opener. I know most newer garages have apps to use for opening. I didn't want to get a new door opener when mine worked fine. The Ross product was a cheap add-on. There's thermostat automation, but we don't use our wall heaters much as we use the pellet stove for all our heating. We have a floor heater under the tile floor in the bathroom. Unfortunately, it's remote operation and difficult to use, so we just program the thermostat to do what we want. I'll show you around my house a little to see some of my stuff.
Miros. So his tablet doesn't pronounce the name quite right. It's called Miros, MEROSS. They're products he has all throughout the house as far as his light switches, his garage door opener, the one like he said we used for the lights on the outside of the house. So it's MEROSS, Miros. And he got them all off of Amazon. You want me to switch the camera now? Well, let me get it out of its harness first. All right, so we're gonna turn off the tablet apparently. Crap. There we go. All right, so let's get you off me. Okay, so we'll follow Brian around the house. So this is his app on his actual tablet that he uses to control. So these are all the switches that he currently has plugged in throughout the home. So his living room lights, he can click that. Which one is going to come on? Oh, I don't know if you can see. So they come on. I'll turn them off again. I switched it. There, and then they go off and on. And then he can also adjust the brightness with this little pull up and down, and it does light and dark. Fun little stuff. Then he's got that just opened the garage door. So we can currently hear the garage door opening just from his tablet, which is extremely helpful when we're coming home with groceries and stuff. And then he's saying in the app, when this physically opens on the app, it that means it's open. It'll stay open to show you that it's actually opened, which I guess it's having a little bit of difficulty right now. There it goes. So that means it's open currently right now. So this is what the smart switches look like. They're pretty basic. You can manually control them just by pushing it and it comes on. You can dim, all that fun stuff with this. This is just a manual version of it. And then I can turn it back off. And then Brian has it on that same thing on his tablet. Oh, and so that's the light switches. This is his August lock. It's a pretty popular lock that's Wi-Fi enabled and a lot of people have it. And so he can lock and unlock the door from his tablet. It just locked. It shows you that it's locked, the red. Then he just unlocked it. So it's a fun little thing. It's super easy to install. I actually have one of these at my house myself, and I was able to install it myself. So you still have the back with the key. The deadbolt is still the same. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out this tablet. Deadbolt's still the same, and then it's just a piece that goes onto the back here. So pretty easy. And then he also wanted to show you, it's not automation, but this is what he uses to physically close his door if he's leaving the house by himself. It's a beautiful day outside here in Battleground, Washington. So he grabs that. Scares me. That's how he's able to close the door. Oh, there's that. Anyway, okay, back inside. So that's the switches and the lock on the door. Now we're going into the bedroom. So a fun little thing, hold on, just your other one too. So he doesn't have automatic lights necessarily in the bedroom, but they do have this really dandy remote thing that comes off. So like if his wife is gone when I get home, or when I get home, I don't live here, I feel like I do, but when I get there in the morning, he can have this in his hand and control the light by himself. So it's not by his tablet, but it is a nifty little thing that I'm sure he appreciates. So he can turn on the light if he feels like it. And the fan, apparently. I didn't realize it did the fan as well. So his bathroom is also it's not like a super fancy thing, but it is an automatic motion detector light. So all he has to do is just physically go in there and it clicks on the light, which is really, really handy. And it goes off, the timer goes off after so long. Oh, there's the cat. She was probably sitting on the toilet seat warmer. What am I doing? Oh, she was laying on the heated floor. That's what, so this floor underneath here is actually heated, which is really nice because it keeps it warm in here. And then the thermostat for that guy is right here. I'm gonna figure out this camera one day. Like he said, it's a little difficult for him to use since he can't reach it, but you know, obviously one of us can set it for him, or they just keep it pretty much set at all times. They don't really have to change it unless it's summer, we turn it off. Oh, and his bidet, he has a bidet, which is extremely helpful, helps him keep regular and stuff, and it's on the toilet. It was another Amazon purchase, this back piece right there. Super simple purchase and easily installed and works great.
And
And that's it. I think that's everything that's pretty automated for Brian. He has those lights all throughout the bottom of the house and his lift. He wants you to see his lift. He has the Hoyer lift up on the ceiling, which is amazing as a caregiver. Having something that's electric like that rather than the manual one, it is a godsend. So it goes throughout his whole entire bathroom. And then he also has the one above the bed, which is absolutely convenient too. So he's able to sleep in a normal bed next to his wife, which is really nice. So, but I think that's everything automated. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out. I don't know how to use Zoom. I've never used it before. Okay, I think that's it.
Thank you, Brian. That was amazing. I am really impressed. Your house is totally decked out. How many, Brian, I have a question. How many years ago did you kind of start your home automation journey, I guess? How long has it been?
So the bathroom light was installed when the remodel was done. The motion detector one was done. Same with the heated floors. So that was all done when they did the remodel on his house almost 10 years ago now. And then 2012 is when he officially started trying to transfer everything over. Yep.
Goodness, you've had 10 years of practice, and I'm sure you've seen how much it's changed in that period of time. I think that's the thing, is that you know, you can have devices now and feel pretty comfortable with it, but in a few years there are new devices that come out. So it's really something that changes very quickly. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you showing us all your stuff. That was awesome. Are there any other questions? I see a couple in the chat.
Ashley, I think Steve had asked a question a little bit earlier in the chat when you might not have seen it. So I think it was sorry, scrolling back up there to find it. Question about for folks who don't have use of their hands, how you might be able to utilize something similar to what Brian had on his tablet for some of his home automation.
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a few ways of doing it. It really just depends on how you're accessing screens right now. So if you're using, let's say you're using your voice because your voice is working well and it's strong, you can use voice control to control your computer, to control, you know, different devices. If your voice is, if it's difficult to use your voice for that purpose, then possibly if you're using an eye gaze device, then you can select on your screen. You should be able to download any of the apps onto your speech device and control it from there. So it really depends on how you're accessing your communication devices now. And then we're going to take whatever is strongest, whatever feels most comfortable, and do that. There's workarounds for pretty much every situation. I think with technology nowadays, almost anyone is able to access at least the basic kind of Amazon Alexa, Google setups. Is that your experience, Brian? Is that it's pretty accessible? Yeah.
I'm wanting to add smart window shades someday, but that's a little more in-depth and costly.
Yeah, definitely. Brian, Tracy has a question for you. I'm not sure if you saw it. It says, I use Alexa a lot now. My voice is starting to go. Do you know if I can transition my Alexa devices to your tablet solutions?
Well, no. No.
It depends. Tracy, let's see, where are you, Tracy? I don't see you. Where is Tracy? I can't find you. It really just depends, you know. It can be put on a tablet. You don't necessarily have to use your voice to access it. However, if you find that your voice is weak and then it's also difficult to use your hands, it can get a little more complicated. So, you know, I say in those situations, working with a speech therapist, occupational therapist, that's really the way to go, because they're the ones who can really sit down with you and try some things out and find the best way to access your devices. It's hard to know without, you know, being right there in front of you and yeah, but most things are adaptable. And then Dustin said, routines do not have to be triggered by time. When I say good night, my bedroom light goes on and all of the others turn off. Yeah, that's a really good point. You can use any sort of kind of trigger word, right? So, you know, good night, Alexa, you know, go to bed, anything like that can trigger a routine. That's a really good point. All right. If there's anything else, you know, I think we can send out a follow-up email, Cassie, and I can maybe, you know, you can have my contact information if you have any follow-up questions or want to set up an appointment to try out a few of these devices, then we can do that. But I really appreciate everyone being here today, and yeah, thank you again.
Brian has to say,
Yeah, of course.
he's typing as fast as he can.
Oh, take your time. Yeah, no worries.
Maybe while we're waiting for Brian's comment, Ashley, and you might have already touched on this, but I think you know about me. I'm so obsessed with using hands-free things on my phone. And I'm not sure, did you talk about texting or like different options for people if their voice is strong, what they can do for kind of communication purposes using?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It depends on what kind of mobile device you have. If you have an Apple device, there are some built-in settings that are really helpful. And you basically, you know, I have my phone right here. You basically go into the settings and you turn on voice access, which allows you to use your voice to say, you know, hey Siri, open mail, or text my mom.
Sorry, my phone.
Oh, say it again.
My phone picked up you saying, "Hey Siri," and started talking.
Oh, I know. So that's an option. I really do like Apple's voice access, because what they can do is they number each button. So instead of having to say, hey, blah, 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 send a text message to, you know, Cassie, and backspace, 2 spaces. Instead of doing that, they just number each button. So all you have to say is 3, 5, 7, and it just makes it simpler. There's also an app for Android phones called Voice, I think it's Voice Access. I can include that in the email as well. And that allows you to just navigate around your phone using your voice. You don't have to use your hands at all. So there are a lot of options. I'll include those in my email. Thanks, Cassie.
Dedicated speech devices are a little more difficult to get to other apps for controls. So you can use your eyes to type out what you want Alexa to do, and then they might be better than trying to get something on your dedicated Revive for doing that.
Yeah, that's a whole other beast, Brian. You're right. Dedicated speech devices. You know, that's a whole other conversation, but there are possibilities. I think it's just about being really clear with your speech pathologist about, hey, this is what I want to be able to do, and then working to find the best solution.
It sounds to me like, Ashley, a good takeaway from this presentation is that, you know, everybody's going to have different preferences and needs when it comes to home automation. And, you know, there's a lot out there to sort through, and that if people are feeling kind of alone or overwhelmed by it, that there's definitely a network of people to connect with. I mean, I'm just looking through the chat and looking at all of the amazing comments that so many of you have made. And clearly, you know, there are people in this community that have a lot of experience and knowledge of what's available. So asking people at support groups for suggestions or advice, but also reaching out to the 2 of you is a possibility for assistance and support.
Yeah. And please, I mean, feel free if you find something that works well for you. I would love to know about it. I don't aim to be, you know, the home automation expert, but I'm doing my best to learn as much as I can so that I can share the information with all of you. So I'm happy to learn. I really want to see your setups and what works and what doesn't work. So I think that's really important, is just stay in contact with people, connect with people. They can be really great resources for you. Well, thank you all. Is there anything else? Any other questions, comments? Okay. All right, well, thank you again. We'll send out an email probably in the next couple of days, and I'll include my slides as well, so you have all that information. And I hope you have a great day. Please reach out. Bye. Thank you, Brian. Take care.